So here are my expectations for the project. All of this needs to be done, and I'll be going over some of them, okay? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Infinite Campus, and you're going to list all your test scores that you've taken. You took a Unit 1, a Unit 1.5, all the way to Unit 9, and that makes a total of 10 tests, which is 10 test scores. So you're going to list them all in whatever order you want to list them in, okay? Then the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find the mean. Another word for mean is average. To find the average, what you do is you add up all the numbers and you divide by how many numbers there are. So what I did is I added all the numbers, and that's 872. Make sure you do it right. So I suggest do it a couple times to make sure you're good, because the mean has a lot of power, which you'll see in a minute. And then divide by 10 because there's 10 numbers. So my mean is 87.2. Now the way you signify mean is by putting an X and a line on top. And so that's what you'll do for mean. Make it look a little bit nicer than I did. So mean is done. Check. Okay. Next thing you're going to do is find the median. The median is the middle number. It isn't the middle number here. It's the middle number when you list the numbers from smallest to biggest. Then once you do that, you start crossing off, but you don't have to cross off. That's just the way I do it. And you find what's in the middle. So if you look, it's between 88 and 91. So if you were to rewrite this in 91, that's 89 and 90, which means it's right in the middle of that. Let me make that. And that's 89.5. Okay, so that's my median. Now, as an example, side note, if let's say you had an 89 and an 89, and you want to know what's in the middle of 89 and 89, it's 89. So that would be the median in that case. Okay, the mode, so median done. The mode is the number that happens the most times. So if you look here, all of them are listed once, but 94 is listed 2 times. Now, if this 94 happened to be a 95, there would be no mode. If I had 2 94s and 2 80s, both 94 and 80 would be my mode. Okay. What was that number? 95. Okay. So mode done. Let's go to the back. So the variance takes the most work. So the first thing you're going to do is list all those numbers. So I'm going to pause it real quick while I do that. So I listed all the numbers and I create a table. You know me in table, it helps me with organization. So I'm going to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have all 10 numbers. I'm good to go. What is important for the variance is the mean. So I'm going to look at the other side, and remember I said the mean has power. So that's going to be 87.2. So here's what I'm going to be doing in each of the cases. I'm going to take the number, subtract the mean, and square it. Let me say it again. I'm going to take the number, I'm going to subtract the mean, and I'm going to square it. So let me pause it real quick while I complete that. So now I've listed all of them. The number minus the mean squared. Now I'm going to pick up my calculator, and I'm actually going to calculate that. And I'll do a couple for you, and then I'll pause it again. So parentheses, 86 minus 87.2 squared. And then I press enter. Let me zoom it in. Okay, and I get 144. Okay, do the same thing again. Parentheses 73 minus 87.2 squared. And I get 216.09. You need to write the whole number, okay? Oops. Now, if you want to, remember if you're using this calculator, but if you'll probably be using Desmos to do it. So I don't know if there's a way to copy it in Desmos, but that might just be easier to now change that to a 94. And I get 39.69. And the great thing is this is the same thing. I'm going to pause it real quick while I finish the rest. So in true Miss Rifkin style, I made a mistake and I had plugged in 87.7. So I'm sure some of you noticed that. So I went back and I changed them all. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these numbers and I'm going to add them and divide by how many numbers we have. So I'm going to pause it again. take all of these numbers, add that on top, and then I'll divide by 10. So I added them up and I checked to make sure they were all good, and then I had 10 of them. Now the variance represents how these numbers vary. If you look right here, this is really far from the average, but down here it's really close to the average. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 513.6, oopsies. I'm going to go 513.6 divided by 10, and I get 5136. So that is the variance. So you can see how much it varies, and there's a symbol you're going to use for variance. It's a sigma squared. So that's what I need to see as the answer. Now the standard deviation, to me, that's the big money right there. That's what tells us information. So in order to find the standard deviation, you're going to take the square root of the variance. So now, and make sure you do it exact, no estimating. So I'm going to go second square root of 51.36, and I get 7.17. We'll say 717, that's fine. So 717, let me make that look better because you need to use the symbol. Since I square rooted, that represents the standard deviation, and that's 717. What this represents is the average of each score based on the mean. The higher the standard deviation, the more variance there is in your data. The smaller the standard deviation, the more closer together that your information is. And to remind you, if I had two classes of 75% and on average, and it was fourth period and sixth period, and I said, okay, what class do I want, this class or this class? Well, if everybody in fourth period got a 75%, the standard deviation would be a 0, which means everybody's a C student. But if over here, let's say my standard deviation is 7, that tells me students are more over, it's like an average of +7 and -7 is the average of the scores. So in my mind, I would much rather have this class where they're more varied than this class. But that depends on information and data that you're looking at, okay? So make sure you don't have that. And of course, you'll make this look neat because this is your nice copy. The next thing you're going to do is a box plot. So on Google Classroom, I have put a PDF and there's a video on how to create a box plot. What I will do is I'm going to figure out all that information now and I'll just show it to you and give you a brief answer for it. But you need to learn based on the YouTube video or that I posted that's connected to here how to do a box plot.